It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
We'll start off with Brian, another Brian. He says, if I really only have enough to fund a college fund or an investment account for my kid, which should I do? Do you have any thoughts about how to make that decision?
Brian, let me ask you a question on that. You, Brian, not this. He says college fund or investment account. There's some really interesting nomenclature there, right? There's some vocabulary. I would make the argument college fund is an investment account, right? It's not like that money sits there and doesn't do anything. Money that you put into a college account does grow, does get invested. It's just there's a purpose for it. So I think maybe his question is, if I have extra money and I'm going to invest it, I'm going to get it working, should I put it in an investment account with a stated purpose, like college, or should I invest it in an unconstrained account where I could use it for any myriad of purchasing decisions?
It is something that we should spend a little time discussing, though, because like a college, if you do like a 529 account, you'll have to make some decisions by the time you're 30.
Yep.
Whereas we've done a lot of show discussion on the value of building wealth all the way up to 65, financial independence. So and you can do that with the investment account. So there's a difference that we ought to focus on. So Brian, this is a great question. Here's the way I would think about this, because I love you can totally pick on our analytical, because we have the financial order of operations. We like to think in very checklist or giving you a process to kind of work through things. And where the first thing you're trying to do is equip your kids to do life well. And part of that is education. And we all know education is very expensive. I even think there's going to be some big changes in education. And I don't even like to use the word college, because a lot of these accounts now, 529 specifically, can be used for K through 12.
Yeah.
They can be used for trade schools, the vocational. I mean, there's a lot of things. It's not just college. And that's good, because you might find that your child gets to graduation from high school and they're not going the traditional track of just college. They might be going that trade school or doing something, or maybe they got a scholarship. By the way, you can pull money out of 529s penalty free, not tax free, but penalty free if your children do get scholarships. So maybe that money could then be rolled into an investment account after you pay the income taxes. But it is one of those things where I would prioritize, if you're asking me and you held me down and said, Brian, give me an answer now, I would, because you're preparing your kids for life, I would do the 529 before I did the investment. I'd be curious to know if you agree with me on that, because remember, our goal is you want to load them up so they have all the resources to be financially independent. And then it's kind of on them to start the discipline and the behavior of investing and growing. If you can fund the education, I feel like you've fulfilled a lot of your obligations with that.
Yeah, I think with most financial decisions, you have to begin with the end in mind. You have to start with the why, right? So when it comes to saving for college, who is the burden of paying for college going to fall on? Is it a burden for you to pay for college, or is it a burden for your child to pay for college? All parents have to have that conversation and figure out the answer to that question, because I would argue most cases when you're building an investment account for your kid, you're helping them with some future purchase that they're going to make. Maybe it's a down payment for a house, maybe it's to get seed started on life, whatever it is. Most folks who save in 529s for college, they're prepaying a future expense of their own, meaning me as the parent, I'm going to bear the college cost. We talk about this, the financial order of operations, all the time. When it comes to the pecking order of financial decisions, you kind of have to take care of yourself first. It's the whole flight analogy. You got to put the oxygen mask on you before you put it on the kid. Well, if one of the things that you're planning on tackling for your child is college, 529s are a great mechanism for you to begin prepaying for that future expense. If your intent is not to pay for college, or you're going to have a conversation with your child about going to less expensive school, or for getting student loans, or working through, then maybe the investment account makes the most sense. But I think as a parent, you have to have that conversation first to figure out the why, and then figure out where to start devoting your money to. And keep in mind, I think you said this, but I'm going to just reiterate it. A lot of 529s, depending on the state you live in, have a tax incentive.
Oh, that's
so
great.
if there's a reason that gives that a little cherry on top that you should contribute to the 529, I would certainly consider that, because saving money on taxes, everybody can get on board with that.
Well, and also I think the elephant in the room is student loan crisis. I mean, student loans it makes me so sad what the cost of education is now. every dollar you put into, like I said, it doesn't have to be college funding, and just be education and life funding with these 529s. If it gives them a better chance of coming out of college with less student loan debt,
love it.
That's a positive thing, because I am amazed. I think I shared with you guys previously, having an 18-year-old in my house, I was shocked to find out college was sold like timeshares are. If you could see how much mail comes in. And now that she's graduated high school, I'm getting the same thing with all the student loan propaganda that's sent to me every day. I mean, we open up our mail and the mailbox is just full of solicitations for student loan debt. It's something you need to have a way to battle that or be prepared for. Have that plan. It's back to bringing this full circle. Bo said, begin with the end in mind. This is going to be a head start if you can address that.